From the director of Legion comes... Priest. So like I mentioned, Priest is directed by the director of Legion. And you know I hated Legion, and I'll say right away, Priest is not as bad as I thought Legion was. Does that make Priest good? Okay, here we go. So Priest is a story of like this alternate world where vampires and humans have warred forever and priests fought off the vampires. And the vampires have believed to be long since isolated, but a vampire attack happens and Paul Bettany's like, I'm gonna go take care of this shit. And the church is like, no, you mustn't, you cannot, thus saith the church, thus saith the Lord. And so Bettany's like, yeah, I'm gonna go kick some ass. You let me know when you're on board with this shit. And so then he embarks. And so now Paul Bettany's out to go hunt down the vampires, which are really not like vampires. They look like those lickers from Resident Evil 2, which I didn't like. I like vampires to look like vampires. These didn't look like intelligent beings or anything like that. They just look like animals that you're supposed to just wipe out. I like the cool human vampires, you know, the badasses. Which brings us to Carl Urban. He's like the human vampire guy, which I found kind of cool. But then I realized that the whole tactic they're using on Carl Urban's character is to surround him with a bunch of shitty characters or vampire dogs to make him look cooler. It's like chicks when they go to a club, you know, one chick will surround herself with a bunch of less attractive chicks to make her look all hot, like, you know, they described in Hall Pass. That shit is real though. They really do that. I think that's what they did with Carl Urban in this movie. Surround him with a bunch of CGI vampire animals and it makes his character look all cool and in depth, when in reality, he fits right in with this movie. I think the problem is the movie's directed by a special effects supervisor. So he's like, all right, here's a special effects scene. I'm going to do that scene. And all right, here's another special effects scene. I will do that scene. But he doesn't know how to bridge the two. So it's just like boom, scene and boom, scene. Disjointed shit. Which there is a scene where a dude falls off the train. The train is going like 78 parsecs an hour or something. He's going fast. Just trying to make good time, so you know this thing is hauling ass. This dude falls off the train. He's a human being. He falls off the train. He rolls like once. He's like, oh. He stands up. He's like, oh, well, you know, all right. Let's try to catch up to that train again. I just think he would be a skeleton on the ground with a streak of skin and blood that was, you know, him. No, not in the future. I mean, the characters really mean nothing in the movie. Like, 4 priests are sent out by the church to take out the main priest. That being said, 3 of them get Boba Fetted, and the other one's, you know, Maggie Q. She's the main chick. If you're gonna have a movie in which the bad guys are a bunch of CGI dogs, make the main characters cool. But no, Paul Bettany's like, you know, stoic like he was in Legion. And his sidekick's that one cocky blonde dude, you know, the guy he was in Burlesque. He was also in Pandorum. Can't think of his name to save my ass. But it's like the director was like, all right, I want a Han Solo type character in this movie. This is going to be the Han Solo. And maybe that's how it was in the graphic novel too. I've never read the graphic novel, so I don't know. But then they get this dude who I don't blame for the performance. I just blame the script because it's shit. It's almost like the guy was just like, oh, I'm going to dress up to be future cowboy and I'm going to have a bunch of future cowboy lines that future cowboys are supposed to do because, you know, that's me in this movie. I'm future cowboy. So many times things are going down and then it cuts back to him. You're like, oh yeah, that dude's in this movie. I forgot. Why is he in this movie? Then it goes back to Paul Bettany. He's thrown down with a bunch of CGI vampire dogs. And then Maggie Q, who's doing her thing. Minutes go by and then it cuts back to this dude and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. He's still in this movie. Why is he in this movie? The story gives a reason as to why he's in the movie, but he's not Han Solo. So Paul Bettany was boring. The sidekick was like future space cowboy bullshit that I didn't buy. I've always thought Maggie Q was hot. All right, she was bullshit too. The script was disjointed. The villains sucked because there were no real villains. There were just a bunch of CGI dogs. The main villain among the villains had potential, but still not great. It's like if Mad Max took a shit on Legion and poured some of that weird science potion stuff on it and brought it to life. So I gotta say, is it better than Legion? Yes. Is it good enough to get anything but dog shit? Nope. Not at all. I don't think Paul Bettany cares what movies he's in at this point. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna pick shit movies. It doesn't matter, because in the end, I go home and I bang Jennifer Connelly. I still win. At the end of the day, Jeremy still wants to be me. I do. That'd be awesome. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more. For free. It's always great when movies like Priest and Legion come out. Free stuff for you. How gay did that shit look? Probably really gay.